but let's talk a little bit more about how Eclipse works, where it comes in. On the website, it says you're not really an Ethereum rollup, nor a Solana rollup, or anything else like that. The point of Eclipse is that it can be deployed to any chain. And right now you support deploying on Celestia, which is kind of this app chain in Cosmos in a sense, Polygon, and Eigenlayer, which is part of the Ethereum world. So can you maybe explain with the fact in mind that my audience is predominantly cosmonauts, so we come from this app chain world. So how would you describe, based on that, where Eclipse comes in and what type of problems it also solves?
Yeah, so a lot of the terminology behind rollups is kind of outdated, or it reflects an optimism Arbitrum type world where you have an Ethereum base layer and then you have like a rollup that's just anchored directly to it, which we call a smart contract rollup. So that's why the terminology like layer 1, layer 2, it's really easy to make sense of. In a modular world, we try not to use those terms to begin with. We try not to say layer 1, layer 2. We try not to say like, oh, this is a Solana rollup or this is an Ethereum rollup. We could make sense of that term and we could try to give it like a more clear definition, but instead we try to say this is a rollup with X as the base layer using Y as the virtual machine, something like that, which is clunkier to say, but that's just the nature of modular rollups, because you're mixing and matching the pieces across ecosystems if you're doing it with something like Eclipse. So if you're using like let's say you're using Polygon Avail as the base layer and the Solana VM as the execution layer, such as what we're going to announce later today. We were announcing Polygon SVM. But let's say you're doing a chain like that. Is that a Polygon rollup? Like, I don't know if that's really the right terminology, especially given you can just start posting blocks of data to like Celestia instead. The construction is almost identical. And now you're, I just don't think that that's like the right way to frame rollups. So anyway, so that's what it means at a high level. It's like when you have a sovereign rollup, all you're relying on the layer 1 for is ordering transactions when you send them blocks of data. And those blocks they already have an ordering. So the layer 1's almost just, it's making sure that block is available to anyone who's querying it. And a good layer 1 that's built for this, they would provide data availability sampling or some sort of zero knowledge DA proof or something like that. But yeah, that's we're relying on the layer 1 for it. And as a result, it's very easy to swap it out.
Nice. Yeah, I think also one core part of Eclipse is the Solana VM. Maybe can you explain what is so exciting about it, and what it means also in terms of deploying rollups, or what type of use cases, or maybe interoperability it also unlocks to ecosystems like Cosmos, for example?
Yeah, so the C-level VM is super parallelized. And really the only hard part is making it so that it's fraud provable. So there's no Merkle tree by default in the C-level virtual machine. So you have to have some kind of Merkle tree that can be updated either retroactively or concurrently or something. But once you get that, then not only do you get this highly parallelized virtual machine, but you can support different bytecodes. So like Neon brings EVM support to the C-level virtual machine. So half of our chains are actually executing EVM bytecode rather than just Solana VM bytecode. And soon we're going to add in Move VM bytecode support. So we automatically get all these different bytecodes. We get a ton of parallelism. So these rollups end up being like the fastest EVM rollups on the market compared to like typical single-threaded EVM implementations, which are typically just like forks of Geth.
But then there's also compatibility with other virtual machines, or?
Yeah, so like it's the way that like Neon EVM brings EVM compatibility to the Solana VM is it's like a smart contract that lives there. It's almost like a Geth-like interpreter. So you submit, like let's say you have an EVM wallet, you sign a transaction, send it to some proxy, they wrap it in a Solana transaction and send that to the Neon EVM smart contract, where it's unwrapped, the bytecode is executed, and that's like how the EVM works. So like the state for like the EVM accounts are stored in Solana accounts as well. So they can benefit from the parallelism that's inherent to the C-level virtual machine.
And how does shared security work in that space, and how do you ensure that all these rollups are eventually secure?
Yeah, it's really like it's the roll up vision for shared security. So as when shared security said, that could mean interchain security, it could mean Polkadot division, it could mean roll ups. Polkadot is kind of like roll ups. But yeah, this is like consistent with Celestia's view of how shared security would look. And there's some role for like ICS to play in that too. Like with one of our engagements, and I can't say who this one is with, but there's some big Cosmos chain that will be spinning up an Eclipse rollup. And the plan is to use Interchange Security to provide either sequencers as a service or to verify our settlement layer or something like that.
Wait, there's a Cosmos chain that wants to spin up a rollup on Eclipse via Interchange and then somehow use Interchange. How does that work? You have to go.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid to go into too many details because it's not public yet. But if you poke around, I know that you're still connected in the space. You can figure it out.
I think my job is also to just squeeze out as much alpha as I can. But I find these things very interesting, right? Like I'm deep in the Cosmos ecosystem, but I think also the spirit of Cosmos is that we also look beyond our own ecosystem, right? Within Cosmos, we have this app chain thesis, right? We have different ecosystems, different flavors. But then outside, I think that's also eventually a goal is for IBC to be implemented in all these other ecosystems. So I think it's in that spirit. Speaking of IBC, does that play any role and how does interoperability work?
Yeah, so we implemented IBC for these rollups. So within our settlement layer, we have fast finality bridging using IBC. And then we're going to be enabling IBC between a couple of Cosmos chains. We chatted a bit with like Osmosis and OKC and a couple other chains about when we launch our mainnet or maybe even for our testnet, we could pass an IBC message to them. We'd provide some module for verification. Then you can also like challenge those IBC messages and roll them back if the Eclipse chain gets rolled back.
So does that mean that Eclipse is the first project that basically brings IBC to be compatible with the Solana VM?
Yeah, we got a grant from the Solana Foundation for that. Yeah.
Yeah.